Rev up your engines! Yugu says, Scotty, my engine oil is a little higher than the full mark. Does it matter, or do you need to take a little bit out? Well, I take a little bit out till it was on the line, but I mean, if it's less than half a quart, it isn't going to hurt a thing. And make sure you do this too. Check the oil first thing in the morning on a flat level surface. Because I had a customer once that said, oh, hey, Scotty, there's no oil in my engine. I checked it, it was empty. He brought it to me and I checked it, it was totally full. I said, I don't know what you've done, but it's full. There's nothing wrong with it. Turns out he was checking it was parked on a hill. And so it read 0, but it was totally full. So always do it first thing in the morning when the engine's cold on a flat surface. Because engine oil, as it heats up, expands a little bit, and it will go up and down some. Garrett says, hey, Scotty, when I drive over 5,000 RPM, I get a weird sulfur smell. Happens in a lot of cars I've driven. There's only 2 reasons you can get sulfur smell. Numero uno is if you've got cheap gas that has too much sulfur in it, the sulfur will get in the catalytic converter and it will smell like rotten eggs coming out of the tailpipe. So if you smell it, go to the tailpipe, take some whiffs. If you smell it coming out of there, it's a sulfated catalytic converter, and try cleaning it out with some cleaner and buy gas somewhere else. The only other thing that can do it is if your battery's going out. Batteries have sulfuric acid, can smell like rotten eggs. And if you have an alternator that's either overcharging the battery and making it bubble, or just a shot battery that's sulfated inside, you'll get that sulfur smell. So it's either your catalytic converter or your battery. Those are the only things in a car that can smell like sulfur. Unless you've driven your car through Hades and it has some Hades dust on it. Joe H. says, hey, Scotty, why am I getting 8 miles a gallon less on my '05 Toyota Camry after I put a used transmission in? Well, either the guy didn't put the transmission in right or you got a bum transmission, because the transmission shifts gears. If it shifts gears too late and stays in the lower gears longer, you're going to get crap gas mileage. That's just the way that it goes. Now, one thing you can certainly check is, once you get on the highway and you're in overdrive, when you're in the final gear, drive it somewhere for a couple 100 miles, go on a trip. See what kind of gas mileage you get when it's on a highway going 65, and make sure that it's in overdrive, that it's shifted that many times that it's in the final gear. It should get normal gas mileage then, and if it does, it just means that it's shifting to the final gear not correctly, and it stays in the lower gears too long, and your gas mileage would be horrible. I've seen that. That's the thing about buying a used transmission. It's pot luck. Shaking the dice and hoping good numbers come up buying a used transmission. You don't get any guarantee, you don't know. So I tell people, I made transmissions, putting used ones in. It's riverboat gambling and that stuff. Reaper says, my 91 Suzuki motorcycle eats oil. Can it be the valve stems? Well, of course it can. The way you can tell if a vehicle is burning oil, generally either the valve stems go bad and it sucks them in, or the piston rings wear. So what you do is, you do a wet and dry compression check on the engine. Take out the spark plugs, do a compression test. Then you put like a half a teaspoon of oil in each cylinder, and then take the compression readings. And if the compression readings go up a lot, that means the piston rings are gone, because that seals them, that oil. If they don't go up a lot, that means the valve seals are bad, because adding oil does nothing to the valve seals. If they're leaking, it won't affect the pressure. It just sucks oil in when the intake opens. Embassy Picture says, is a used Buick Regal a good buy as a first car? Well, if it's low enough mileage and it runs good, it could be fine. I had a customer, he paid $1,000 for a used one of those years ago for his daughter, and she drove it, but she hated the car. She said it was a grandpa car. So he ended up giving her his Toyota, and then he drove it as his work car. And he drove it for years, and he only paid $1,000 for it. They can be decent cars. But like anything else, don't pay much for a used one, and have a mechanic check it out before you buy it. Used cars, like the old saying went, when you buy a used car from this man, you can't trust anybody. So you have to have a mechanic check it out to see if there was any fishy things going on. But when we hook our machines up, most of the fishy things, if they're there, they'll pop up with our scan tool. Our scan tools do thousands of things. It's very hard to fool somebody with one of those that knows how to operate it. The British are planning on going electric. It's now aiming to make all the new cars sold there to be electric cars by the year 2035. Now, that's a long time from now. Hey, a lot of things can happen. There'll be a lot of water under the bridge between now and 2035. But I recently got back from England, and all I have to say is they have enough problems there already with their electrical grid. They're adding a whole bunch of cars more onto it. Hey, good luck. Talked to some guys in Canada where they got all kinds of hydroelectric power about electrification, and they even admitted, they said, our infrastructure couldn't take all these electric cars being charged up, deliver it to people. We don't have the ability to generate that amount of electricity. And, you know, you can talk big, but actually switching all that infrastructure stuff around. I could see China doing it first because it's a communist country. It's a dictatorship. They can say, you can only buy these cars, and they have no choice. But the English are pretty free-minded people. And I don't know if I could see the English people accepting something like that, that they can only do this. They put Brexit in, that they want to get out of the European Union, and then, of course, all the rich people tried to stop it and say that wasn't right. But, you know, the people were able to vote on that one at least and get out of that ridiculous situation they had going on in Europe. Now, if their government's trying to tell them that they can only buy electric cars, I mean, I'd like to see them implement it, you know. Well, perhaps we'll find out if I'm still around 15 years from now. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.